While Path of Titans and the Isle have been in an arms race with one another, there's been another dinosaur game quietly doing its thing, preparing sweeping changes and mass overhauls to itself. And that game is Beasts of Bermuda, a game that has been quietly pushing out massive updates and is on the cusp of one of the biggest updates since both Paleophis and the release of Titania. And today, I'm getting you up to speed on everything you need to know about this. After the release of Archelon and Paleophis playables into Beasts of Bermuda, the developers looked back towards their existing player base, planning a new spree of specializations that would see their current dinosaur roster technically grow further, but without adding a massively new playable. The idea that each playable would get 2 specializations or more would start to get fully underway from now on. Technically something that was brought to the game with the Paleophis, as that saw specializations allowing it to be more terrestrial or more aquatic. Apatosaurus was the first one on the chopping block to get this, and it's doing with their dinosaur TLCs currently. On Friday the 23rd of August 2024, the developers released Return of the Giants, an update that essentially split Apatosaurus into 2. Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus. Firstly, overhauling and bringing Apatosaurus back to its former glory, but then expanding on that, adding a new specialization, Brontosaurus, which although being almost identical, brought in a whole new look, as well as new main arsenal as well, because Apato's main arsenal was a stomp and tail whip, but for Brontosaurus, who had a new neck sweep and a tail whip and a kick, adding a new look to an old face, allowing for more diversity. But that was only the beginning. On the 16th of October 2024, alongside the fall event for the game, the developers released their next specialization, Carcharodontosaurus. This was a brand new specialization to the Acrocanthosaurus class within the game. It added a brand new vocal ability, which is Voracious Roar and Voracious Bite, setting it apart from its Acrocanthosaurus brother, but staying true to their usual theme. They kept the dinosaur's usual playstyle, pretty much similar to that of Acrocanthosaurus, however, of course, they gave it a beautiful new model as well, and some technical variations that would see it a little bit more specialized, like that of the Voracious Roar, allowing, of course, once again, more variation between the playables in the game. And you may know by now, they did not stop there. 8 days before the Carcharodontosaurus patch released, the developers had already teased their next target, Velociraptor. The Velociraptor for Beasts of Bermuda is currently undergoing a massive overhaul, starting of course with new animations which include a whole host of pretty much all of its emotes and new feather shaders for the creature, which are insanely nicely well made, with huge amounts of detail on the model overall. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous. And with this overall, the Velociraptor will be getting a new mechanic, gliding, which is actually a technical new mechanic for terrestrial creatures within Beasts of Bermuda, and it leads us to Velociraptor's specialization, funnily enough, which is Changyu Raptor, which has been chosen as Velociraptor's specialization. And this one will be better at gliding compared to Velociraptor, and that's where it specializes itself. In fact, we even got to see this brand new mechanic in motion with the Changyu Raptor itself being able to glide for almost a full minute. You get to see glimpses of the model variation as well here as well, mainly focused on the feathering of this little raptor, with more feathers on the legs to assist in that gliding lifestyle. And you'd think that's pretty much where the story ends with the specializations. In fact, technically, that's where it does end at the moment. But they then teased the most beautiful Utahraptor of all time alongside their Velociraptor rework. Now, Utahraptor is one of the planned upcoming playables for the game. It's been an upcoming playable for a very long time, and the model for this looks absolutely gorgeous. Perhaps this would mean Utahraptor is coming sometime next year as the next official playable. We'll have to wait and see. Now, you may be wondering, what does all of these specializations have to do with one of the biggest updates since Titania? Well, it doesn't. In fact, that was just showing that the game has been quietly overhauling itself for the best part of pretty much half a year already. The real show is this: Temporal Drift, one that is entirely snowy, and of course, set in a snowy alpine mountain valley. Temporal Drift will be the first map of its kind to come to Beasts of Bermuda. Technically, the first map in Beasts of Bermuda that will be oceanless. Souls released a lot of information about this map and even answered some of the questions that the community have about it. So the first one, why a new map, especially considering Titania isn't even completed yet? Well, there's a reason for this. As much as Titania isn't finished just yet, the development of Temporal Drift is set to be an opportunity for graphical learning, which can then be utilized on Titania and other maps itself. This allows the developers to take the graphics of the game to the next level. Saying that, I figure if I'm going through all the effort to make a tech demo, that tech demo may as well be playable to all. And adding that Titania will still get heaps of new updates and expansions in the future. So, of course, what are they learning? Well, they're learning interactive material displacement. The reason Temporal Drift is a snow map is because this is one of the best ways to learn this logic. Essentially, this is when you walk through, for example, the snow will respond to your character's movement, adapting the logic of this into the map's landscape itself. Rather than small mud patches on some maps, like on Titania's, it's got small mud patches, which have this mechanic or logic, but Temporal Drift is fully that. Now, this will be a 50 to 75 player map because this is a smaller map, a more deathmatch PvP style map. But, of course, for all you survival freaks out there, be rest assured, because for smaller servers, this can pretty much work very well as a survival or role-playing experience. Now, of course, I did say at the start, this is oceanless. Technically, the ocean will rise from underneath the map, but you can't technically have the ocean as a playable area. It will just be flooded. So, technically speaking, it's oceanless. Regardless, you'll also see snowstorms and blizzards as well as snow, of course, coming to the game, and you'll hopefully be able to experience this sometime in the future. The not so distant future, might I add. Beasts of Bermuda is poised to go through some crazy developments over the next couple years. More updates to Titania, this new map, Temporal Drift, and a whole host of new creatures. Caprosuchus, Utahraptor, Zupasaurus, Tapayara. There's so many coming in the future, and we'll likely see some of them in the next year or so. Of course, though, in my opinion, this is very exciting stuff. Firstly, the specializations for all the creatures adds more playability to every single creature, further enhancing the customization that this game already does great at. And then, of course, adding more on top of that. And then you've got the new map Temporal Drift, which looks absolutely stunning, introducing snowstorms, blizzards, and, of course, the interactive map logic with the snow. It's going to be extremely exciting seeing what Beasts of Bermuda does in 2025, because at the moment, it's showing huge promise. I'm very excited for it all. And that is Beasts of Bermuda lately. I feel like this was something that should have been covered because they're just quietly doing their thing. And I do think this definitely needed to be talked about. If you are playing Beasts of Bermuda and you are a Beasts of Bermuda player, what are your thoughts on all of this new stuff? And I, of course, do apologize if I did get anything wrong here, especially with the specializations. I seemingly am out of the loop of this game quite a bit, so I try to cover it as best as I can while digging in to get some information there. But of course, if I did miss anything, let me know in the comments and we can help fill in the gaps. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.